David Benavidez says good news about Canelo Alvarez potential fight, despite a whole lot of drama around some things that Canelo Alvarez said. Let's talk about that in this video. Canelo Alvarez, big money maker in the sport of boxing, Mr. Funny Business for sure when it comes to making fights. It seems like we're almost always in a scenario where people want to see Canelo fight somebody. Canelo Alvarez does not want to fight the person that people want to see him fight. And this time it is a fighter that goes by the name of David Benavidez, the former WBC 168-pound champion, who Canelo Alvarez had multiple opportunities to fight, but yet to date has refused, and has actually said something in an interview the day before yesterday that made people believe that there's no way that he's ever going to fight him. However, David Benavidez comes out and says, hold your horses. Don't be surprised if this fight happens in September. Now, before I get into the details of it, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And if you're a longtime subscriber and supporter of the channel, thank you so much for your continued support. It really makes a very, very big difference to the channel, especially you guys, the support and the super thanks. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But let's get into this because Canelo Alvarez caused me to have a lot of difficulty on a live stream that I did, because people should understand that despite the fact that I will readily admit the Canelo Alvarez popped dirty for Clenbuterol, that Canelo Alvarez should have fought Jermall Charlo at 160 pounds. He also should have fought Demetrius Andrade at 168 pounds. And he absolutely positively should be fighting David Benavidez at 168 pounds. Despite all of those things, which people call ducks, and I have to tell you, the first two of them, I agree 100%. And on multiple occasions, I agree with David Benavidez. I didn't agree that just by him saying that he demanded that, saying that, hey, if somebody offered me 150 million, 200 million, I would get that fight done. Right? To me, I was like, that's just coming out of his mouth. I don't really want to call people ducks or say they're avoiding fights just because of what they say when a microphone is in their face, because, you know, anybody can say anything. Just because somebody says they want to fight with a mic in their face, I'm not taking them at their word that they actually want that fight. I've heard that stuff a bunch of times. And then it winds up that the fight doesn't happen, or they leave the weight class. Something happens, right, where the fight doesn't take place. But it's the guy that says he wants it is the one that really wants it, right? Not necessarily so. So saying that you want a big ton of money for this fight doesn't mean that you're not going to have the fight if you don't get that. That said, I completely understand why people use the phrase duck when it comes to that, to Canelo Alvarez and David Benavidez. And it's definitely a fight that I think should happen. However, David Benavidez, not 2 days later, took to Twitter and said, don't be surprised if that fight happens in September. And there's nothing else that he said beyond it besides, don't be surprised that fight happens in September. Myself, I believe that the fight can happen in September for several reasons. One is, what else is Canelo going to do? Really? What is Canelo going to do? You saw what happened with the PBC and when Al Heyman gave Canelo Alvarez permission to negotiate for other fights with the Zone. They were not able to find another scenario where he could get the money that he wanted or the fight that he wanted. So the fight winds up coming back to the Zone, coming back to the PBC, and winds up fighting the guy that they said that they wanted him to fight, right? He said that he didn't want to fight a Mexican before. Now he's fighting a Mexican and he's fighting on PBC. Eddie Reynoso said that they had never left the PBC, that they had gotten permission to negotiate with other fights. Because, hey, man, if you could find a fight that works better for you, go ahead and fight them. They were always with Al Heyman. That's a whole nother video in and of itself with that revelation. However, well, what's going to change in September? I don't think a lot. You're going to have a situation where Al Heyman and those guys are going to want that David Benavidez fight, because that's the fight that they believe is the biggest fight, the biggest money-making fight for them. And David Benavidez, as long as the WBC does what the WBC said it would do, which is officially order or officially name David Benavidez as the mandatory, what really else is there for Canelo to do? To go up to 175 pounds? There's going to be a fight between Arthur Beterbiev and Dimitri Bivol at 175 pounds. I don't think that Canelo Alvarez is going to want to fight number one, Dimitri Bivol again at 175, because it was one-sided the last time, and he's definitely not going to be wanting to fight Arthur Beterbiev at that weight class if he's worried about David Benavidez and the 25 pounds that David Benavidez is bringing to the table, extra that he's bringing to the table at 168. You're going to get the same thing out of Arthur Beterbiev at 175. But I'm a big believer that Arthur Beterbiev is a monster. So I just don't see, long story short of it, I just don't see where else Canelo Alvarez is going to go, right? Of course, you do have Jermall Charlo, who is there, but people are not really demanding that fight. The PBC doesn't seem to be demanding that fight. Jermall Charlo is going to have to get a couple more fights and really get himself looking like, all kind of bright and shiny for people to really get behind that fight. So I think that there's a very good possibility that the fight would take place, and it's not going to be $100 million, $150 million, a $200 million guarantee for that fight, unless the PBC says to Canelo that they believe that that's how much money he can make, that they believe that fight can do, 2 million pay-per-views or whatever it would take in order for you to get to that type of, earning that type of money, right? I don't think that they're going to spit it out of their pocket to do that. But again, if they said they were willing to gain, if it's true that they offered him 55, 60 million, hey, man, they may turn around and give him a little bit more of a boost. But at the end of the day, I think that that's a fight where Canelo Alvarez I don't see how he's going to get up out of that fight, especially, again, with all the pressure that there is from the boxing public for that fight to take place. The fact that, ESPN is not going to pay. He's not going to get anything. He's not going to get anything approaching what he wants to get for for what he'll actually get for David Benavidez, for a guy like Beterbiev. And Beterbiev doesn't just have another 25 pounds to offer. Beterbiev got a serious concussion, and you laid out on your back to offer playing with that guy if he gets past Dimitri Bivol, which I think he very well may do. But even if Bivol wins that fight, Canelo, I just still don't see him getting past that. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.